underguards. And there are those who are negative, who are always going to be negative, who say, why would Pastor D put his big mouth in this issue? First of all, I grew up in Riverside, and when I hear Brother Dwight on the radio explaining terms like re-gentrification, something that I never knew about as a young boy, but I'm beginning to understand that there's money at the root of all of it. There's money at the root of the problem with the Thunder Guards because it involves the millions of dollars that will come to the city of Wilmington through HUD if these people can be pushed off of their property and the Riverside line can be extended to Governor Prince. So don't insult our intelligence by laying the violence in the community at the feet of this historic organization with smoke and mirrors while you got your hand in the pocket of the people. And finally, this issue that Brother Dwight is dealing with is the exact same issue. It has to do with millions and millions of dollars that have been denied the minority and low-income people, the people who the money was designed to get to. And the hypocrisy of government when they pretend to do one thing but do quite another, which is to take from the community. And so I'm glad that Dwight knows it, understands it, and studies it, and just seeing the people here. I began in activism going with J Street to meetings for the Coalition to Save Our Children. All we knew was he was going to tell off the schools and we was going to walk out if he said so. But it was enough to get them to do the right thing, and I believe, Brother Dwight, that if we stand together, we can get the mayor, not only the mayor, we can't stop there, it goes all the way up to Mr. Markell, and anyone who stands between us and them, we can get them to do the right thing. So we support you, we're here to support you, we're with you, and thank God for everybody that's in the fight.
Thank you, man. All right.
Thank you, Pastor. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce two gentlemen that are a part of our West Center City implementation strategic team, resident driven. To my left is Mr. Ed Gillespie. Ed Gillespie is the CEO of the American Beauty Academies, and which I think they have 5 in 3 states. And I want Ed to just say a little bit more about himself, and he might even want to touch on his interest in this.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, one to two. I'm Ed Gillespie, and his brother Dwight has said I'm the CEO of American Beauty Academy. We're located at 200 West Main Street, and we purchased this building back in 2007. And what it has done in that area is centered that particular business district. So I'm particularly interested in West Center City because I'm the property owner of West Center City. I'm here today to support Brother Dwight. Brother Dwight and I have worked on some other things. We're working on getting a bill passed in the House to allow people who have been in apprenticeship for many years to switch over and become dutifully licensed. Also, I'm surprised, the gentleman on my left, I didn't know this morning that his mother was a friend of the lady with the statue here. This I didn't know. That they were colleagues, they worked together. I mean, and I've known Barry for a couple of years. I didn't know he had such great roots. And once again, I can say a whole lot of stuff, but the bottom line here is that Dwight wrote me into it, so it's...
I'm Barry Snyder, and Dwight has roped me in also. I represented American Beauty Academy and still represent them when they came to the city in 2007. And they are definitely part of the community, both in terms of educating and training the residents in various skills, but also they feel this is an important community that they're very supportive of. My history does go back to 1967 when I first met Helen Chambers. My mother had become friends with her. My mother was a member of the Quaker meeting at 4th and West Streets, and the meeting was involved with many of the issues which were arising in the mid-60s. And Helen Chambers was one of the community leaders, and she and my mother became very close friends. And I remember driving down Madison Street to pick up Helen and take my mother and Helen down to Dover to lobby for various statutes, laws which needed to be passed, from fair housing to fair employment laws. So it's been a long history that I'm familiar with this community and very supportive of what Dwight is doing here.
And I guess I need to say that Helen Chambers and my mother, the late Lillian Davis Richardson, both lived right up the street there, 626 Madison Street. And I guess just reflecting, we both, Barry, were the staff, if you will, of the civil rights movement. That takes us back to a time in this community that the time they called the riots. We never called them the riots. We called it revolution. It was revolution that took place in this community. And Sister Bay, this month. The revolution that took place in this community, I always say, was not a racial revolution. It was a social revolution to address the socio-economic conditions that existed in our community. But moving up from that, in this community here, right after this civil disobedience, it was our parents, all colors, race, creed, nationality, that came together and we began to redevelop the valley, which now they call West Center City. We built the center, West Center City Community Center in back of you, which used to be a church where we used to have meetings. We built the West Center City Daycare Center just across the street. We built this park. The organization that I have been blessed to be the president of for the last 32 years, the Motivational Center, we built that. It was the first nonprofit, I guess it was a alternative educational program where high school diplomas, GEDs, adult basic education, and even in the basement, there was a daycare center for the high school dropouts that were carrying children. So we were a part of the development of this community. Now, fast forward, I need to say something real briefly about Brown versus the Board of Education. Brown versus the Board of Education, most people think of, when they think of Thurgood Marshall, they think of Lou Redden and Jack Greenberg, but they think very little of Colin Sykes, who was the chancellor at that time. Colin Sykes, a 37-year-old Wilmington resident who was the chancellor of an Article III court. Article 3 of